Usyk gets hit. I mean, look at his face after the first fight with Anthony Joshua.
This is Jonathan Agger, 5th Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Queensberry's Dev Sahni. Dev, we're here at the media workout for Daniel Dubois, who faces Oleksandr Usyk next Saturday in Poland. Dev, you'll be there, won't you?
Mate, it's come around quick, right? And look, I'm looking at Dubois now. Look at the shape on him. Goodness me, there were a few abs poking through there as well. He's ready to go, isn't he? I mean, and also, like, you can tell, like, when he's doing interviews and stuff, he's like smiling, he's relaxed. I remember when he wouldn't smile, he barely talk in these interviews. He's ready to go. This is a young man ready to become the unified world heavyweight champion.
He's oozing confidence. I'm not just saying that because he's 5 feet away from me, probably knocked me out, but I was trying to ask him about obviously other things like Joshua, and he told me enough of that.
Yeah. Look, he's focused. He don't care what. He's been up in the Spanish mountains, right? Like, I don't know if they've got Wi-Fi. Yeah, I don't know what he's been doing up there. I've heard he's been reading Bible verses at night as well. Like, he's just been very focused on what he's got to do, and it's just eat, sleep, train, repeat. Yeah, it's that one.
No drink.
So yeah, it's that one basically. And this is a new thing for him to go away for a camp, and it probably wouldn't have happened had he not linked up with Don Charles. If he was still at other camps, he'd be going to their gyms. Don Charles, through his connections, has this available to him, and it's really fallen on Daniel Dubois' lap. So all these little things can all help him. So let's see.
I've spoken to a lot of people about this fight, and the one thing they have said when they've compared it to, say, Joshua, is that Dubois hits a lot harder. So Usyk's seen every style you could probably ever face. So what do you think Dubois will bring that maybe he hasn't seen?
Well, I think in Oleksandr Usyk's professional career, 10 years or however long it's been, nobody has hit him as hard as what Daniel Dubois will hit him. And you talk about Joshua, Joshua is obviously a big puncher as well. But it's about wanting to throw it and being willing to throw it. And obviously Joshua's sort of got the demons of the past, which, look, we're watching it every time he fights. They're sort of like, we're seeing the thought bubbles and we're watching it haunt him. He hasn't got that, Daniel Dubois. I'm pointing at him there. He hasn't got that. He's fearless. It's almost his naivety. He's going to be just ruthless aggression in there. That's his best chance. So what has he got? He's got plenty of size. He's got plenty of power, plenty of youth, and plenty of aggression. And all those things are going to help.
He said he will land, and Usyk will know about it, but how does he land? This guy, does he get hit enough, Usyk?
Usyk gets hit. I mean, look at his face after the first fight with Anthony Joshua. He gets hit. And that's an Anthony Joshua that was trying to outbox him, by the way, trying to figure him out. So he gets hit in every fight. This isn't Pernell Whitaker, right? And at heavyweight, Daniel Dubois is going to be an imposing figure in there for him. It is inevitable he will hit Oleksandr Usyk. It's inevitable that he'll land on him.
You believe that he knocks Usyk out, and in how many rounds do you think he can do it?
I think he needs to do it as quickly as possible, to be honest. This is the whole thing, right? I think if we start seeing round 6, 7, 8, if we start seeing the ring girls hold that up, that's probably bad news for Daniel Dubois, because by that point he might be confused, he might be gassed. I think it's the first half of the fight he's got to get it done, and I think that's when he'll do it.
In terms of his legacy, if he wins this fight, surely he becomes an all-time great if he dethrones the two-weight undisputed cruiserweight heavyweight champion. There's that much at stake here, surely.
Yeah, look, this is how you want to do it, right? You want to go away from home. You want that hostility. You want people booing you on the way to the ring and cheering you on the way out. I think that's what he can achieve. And look, Tyson Fury did it the hard way, right? He did it by going to dethrone Vladimir Klitschko in Germany, where he based himself. Usyk bases himself now, well, everywhere really, but he's basing himself for this fight in Poland because of their links to Ukraine. Daniel Dubois goes in there. This is he will shock the world, and yeah, that's legacy-defining stuff. That'll be the start for him.
Just want to move on to Anthony Joshua. What did you make of his performance against Robert Helenius on Saturday night?
Look, they would have gone into it thinking we need a highlight reel knockout, a win, and we need momentum. So they got all of that, right? They got all of those things. But it's obviously, look, we can all see it. Some are mollycoddling him and saying, no, he's learning, or he's carrying him, he's carrying Hellenius. Look, we can all see what's happening in there. He's cautious, right? He's more cautious than the guy that he was before. And that's okay, that happens. We see heavyweights evolve like that. I keep pointing to Vladimir Klitschko. He used to be, throwing combinations and wrecking people till he got wrecked himself a few times. Then he had to change his style. We're watching an Anthony Joshua who is betwixt and between. He's still trying to figure out what his style is. And we're watching that unfold. I can't imagine that he'll fight Deontay Wilder next. I think we'll hear all the right things. Oh, we're trying to do the fight, etc., etc. But I can't imagine that would be next for him. I think he could benefit from more fights, but then at that point, like, say he has another fight, he has another Hellenius type, he knocks him out, but doesn't look great on the way to doing it. Will they just do it again? Will they? Oh, let's go and fight this fella now. He needs another one. He needs another one. I don't know. Maybe they'll try and age Deontay Wilder out.
So, in terms of what you said about being cautious, is there an argument that he's just evolving his game in terms of, like, if you're going recklessly against Deontay Wilder, you're probably going to get knocked out, right? So, do you think he's trying to prepare himself to potentially, like, try and outbox him or things like that?
Yeah, look, it's not particularly difficult to outbox Deontay Wilder, and if that's what they're aiming to do, like, it doesn't feel like the route to victory. Eric Molina, Joanne Duapas, plenty of inferior fighters to Anthony Joshua have had success outboxing Deontay Wilder, but they all get knocked out. That's the thing. So he will need to look. The blueprint on how to beat him is what Tyson Fury did, and that's stick it on him and make him fight on the back foot and really mean it. Does Anthony Joshua right now look like someone who will walk straight towards Deontay Wilder? Not for me.
Head behind the camera. Just two more before we finish up, Dev. I spoke to Frank earlier about Eddie Hearn's comments on Simon Jordan radio show last week, and he suggested that Simon doesn't ask Frank as hard a questions as he does to Eddie Hearn. What do you make of that? How do you think Simon approaches both promoters?
If you've watched the Simon sit down that he did with Frank the other day, I think he goes in quite hard, to be honest, like some of the stuff that he's talking about in there. So yeah, I don't really agree with that. I think that obviously you're going to be more pally with some people, you just get on with them better, but I'm also hearing Eddie's going to take Simon Jordan out for a bit of dinner, and they're probably going to become frenemies. So I don't know, I think it's evolving every time they do an interview. Let's see.
Dev, you're obviously on the MC duties, or you've at least hinted at that on Twitter for Friday Night McCann Beluta. Just tell, you've obviously started off, at Frank's, in the media side of things, and you've sort of built yourself up. Just for, I guess, people watching how your journey's developed, what advice would you give people? Because you've sort of worked your way up, and now you're MCing on TNT Sports.
I think the general advice is say yes and figure it out later. No matter what the opportunity is, just say yes and trust yourself to figure it out. I didn't think I started off doing like marketing and like media stuff and digital marketing for Box Nation, right? Now I'm ring announcing on TNT Sports. Oh, I've given it away there. But yeah, ring announcing on TNT Sports, like doing crazy stuff. So just trust yourself and say yes. You never know where these opportunities could lead.
Absolutely. Dev, appreciate your time. Just lastly, just tell us about McCann Beluta and how do you, obviously you're backing, I'm sure, Dennis, I know you're good friends with him, but what do you see as what's going to happen in that fight?
It's a big step up, a big step up. He's 22 years old, McCann, and Beluta has beaten some very, very good fighters. He causes upsets. He's a hard man, he's a madman, and this is by far the toughest fight of Dennis McCann's career. But if he is the guy that we think he is, he'll come through it. But let's see. He's got a tricky task ahead of him, and hopefully, let's see how it goes.
I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll catch up next week in Poland.
All right. Cheers.